House of X, Powers of X. Chapter 6. Once more unto the breach. Krakoa.
It's done. I've assembled a team. Good mutants. All who accept the mission for what it is. They understand both the stakes and the risk. They understand it and embrace it.
Such a brave face you're wearing for me. But I can hear the fear in your mind, Scott.
Is it wrong that I'm afraid? That I have doubts?
Of course not. You've always been that way. What matters is that you overcome it. And you do so for your family. You make me so proud. And let me put your fears to rest, my son. You're not going to die. I won't allow it.
For the righteous can never truly die. They live on, transformed into something immortal by their mighty works. For you to die, you would have to be forgotten. And no one forgets the founder of a nation.
Time to go. Alright. Apparently a group of rogue human scientists called Orcus is building the ultimate master mold. A mother mold. In orbit around the sun. We have to destroy it before it comes online. And while sure the hell of a nightmare machine that produces mutant death factories is some bad news, the real danger here is that we think it's going to lead to a technological paradigm shift. A Nimrod. So off we go. But be advised, we won't be taking any Krakoan fauna with us, which means there's not gonna be a gateway home. We have to get in, get out, and get home the old-fashioned way.
I don't get it. Why no plants?
Yeah, call me crazy, but it seems like a good idea. Having an emergency way home.
That's because you're only thinking of success, not planning for failure. What if the Mother Mold AI gets a good hard look at what we're doing here on Krakoa? How all of this works? Who knows? Maybe they find something we haven't.
Exactly, Monet. So we can't risk it. So no plants. Got it, everyone? Are you listening, Mystique?
My ears work fine, Summers. What about the human crew?
The mission is to stop the Mother Mold, no matter what. But we want to keep casualties to as close to zero as possible. The station has a long-term capacity of just over 3,000, so there are probably a lot of innocent civilians alongside whatever security they have.
Innocent civilians don't build machines to exterminate a species, Slim.
They're not soldiers in the war, Logan. They're just scientists, scared of their own future.
Alright, punching it!
Just scientists, huh? How exactly do you think humans went from sticks to bombs?
Machines. Sentinel to Nimrod progression. Sentinel, Alpha. Non-sentient, mutant hunting robots based on non-replicating adaptive technology. Mark 1 through Mark 8. Master Mold, a replicating adaptive, fixed or mobile, Sentinel factory that is self-aware and capable of creating Sentinel drones. Mother Mold, a replicating adaptive Sentinel factory that is self-aware and capable of creating master molds. While a master mold is incapable of improving beyond its ultimate Sentinel state, it's theorized that, given enough time, a mother mold is capable of producing purely adaptable machines based on nano-sentinel technology. Omega Sentinel, a human infected with nano-sentinel technology and progressively transformed from human to machine. See the Omega cycle. Nimrod, a pure nano-sentinel construct, anti-mutant adaptive, self-aware, self-replicating, virtually indestructible. A Nimrod is an end-state nano-sentinel construct. Moira X has learned that while emergent AIs are unavoidable, an anti-mutant Nimrod is not. It is a product of a particular intent manufactured for a purpose. Moira X and Apocalypse theorize a Nimrod is the primal threat to long-term survival of mutants. Moira and Apocalypse attempt to acquire the information surrounding Nimrod's origin. Apocalypse acquires the incomplete Nimrod origin files, X2. Nimrod origin files imply the raw developmental processing power necessary to produce a Nimrod is entirely dependent on certain technology thresholds being reached. A Nimrod almost always occurs in conjunction with resulting from a mother mold. Moira dies. Moira reincarnates. Moira and Charles Xavier task several mutant technopaths with creating a system, Sleeping Giant, to monitor for Nimrod technological thresholds being reached and or the attempted creation of a mother mold. Orcus protocols enacted. Moira and Charles Xavier discover Orcus through Sleeping Giant. Charles Xavier and Magneto acquire plans for the Orcus Forge, Soul's Hammer, home of a dormant but soon-to-be active mother mold. Charles Xavier and Magneto task the X-Men with destroying the mother mold and preventing the creation of Nimrod. Project Achilles, Department of State, USA. Project Achilles is a superhuman, super maximum security prison, built to house only a maximum of 30 superpowered criminals, the worst of the worst. Achilles has all the necessary components on site to comply with all legal and extra constitutional requirements, along with a security and judicial staff that rotates on and off site every 3 months. Once someone arrives at Achilles, they stay at Achilles until their shift is over. The only exceptions are for an external breach or a loss of containment. Civilian access and special admittance to Achilles is only possible with a dispensation from the United States Department of State. A pre-approved list of civilians, almost all immediate and extended family, is allowed to access the inmates once a year. But to date, no one has ever requested such a visit. Project Achilles, Superhuman Supermax.
Docket 6732-D3. Only one case today, Judge.
Supervillain Processing.
All quiet on the Western Front, A.G. Tolliver.
What we lack in volume, we're making up for in depravity, Your Honor. The defendant is being charged with felony breaking and entering, felony assault, felony theft, 2 counts of manslaughter, and I swear to God, if bad manners were something I could add to the list, I would.
Well, I think everyone knows how I feel about social graces. And what about you, Counselor? Do you have anything to offer on behalf of your client before we begin today's proceedings?
Just one thing, Your Honor. A motion to dismiss based on the fact that my client was an unwilling accomplice and had no idea what his companion's intents were. We'd argue that you've got the wrong man.
It's a good try, Counselor. But unfortunately for you, we're charging your client under the government's new 12-strike rule, which, as you know, supersedes intent. So, motion denied. Anything else? No? Then let's get on with it. How does your client plead?
Oh, I'm guilty, meat. I definitely got bad manners.
And the other charges?
Yeah, I did those too. It ain't like it's gonna matter. Ain't no place ever been built that can hold me. And if we're really being honest, ain't like I'm gonna sit here and let you judge me anyway. You think chains can keep me from making your insides your outsides? 'Cause let me tell ya, they can't. You smell that?
What?
Jasmine.
What's that mean?
Means you're fired, Counselor.
Well, what have we here?
It looks to me like the monkeys are using tools again, Miss Frost. Playing at civilization.
Young lady, how many times have I told you? We only use our mutant names in public. So, I have to insist you call me the White Queen.
Yes, Mum.
What's the meaning of this?
I'm not sure that's the question you should be asking, as there's quite a difference between what's getting ready to happen and what it really means.
Enlighten me.
Well, that's certainly the correct position to assume. What's going to happen is that you're going to surrender Mr. Creed to me.
Sabretooth, Mom.
Yes, thank you. Sabretooth. You're going to give him to me because, in anticipation of Krakoa becoming a sovereign nation, all Krakoans on United States soil, natural born or otherwise, now enjoy the privilege of diplomatic immunity. A recent gift from your State Department.
We have all the paperwork if you need it.
But it's totally cool if you leave his chains on. This isn't going to happen.
It is going to happen. And as for what it means, well, it simply means we don't answer to you anymore.
That thing is a killer.
Just like my mama made me, and I ain't close to done.
Yes, he's a bit of a monster. On that, I cannot disagree. But he's our monster. And from this day forward, mutants won't be judged in human courts. Or by the likes of you.
No, this is not how today ends. Not on my watch.
Normally, I'd dominate that little mind of yours. And make you stick that gun where your last boyfriend left you. But I've been told the art of diplomacy is about equalizing power dynamics. So, why don't you pretend that some larger American purpose is being served here today? And I'll pretend like you could have stopped me. It's a brave new world, darlings. Best get used to it.
Omega Cycle. Human Omega Sentinel Process. 1. Infection. A human host is injected with a nano-sentinel technology. 2. Nesting. Self-replicating biological machines propagate in host. 3. Replication. Biological machines replaced existing host systems and organs. 4. Dormancy. During the dormant period, the biological host is partially transformed from organic to machine. 5. Activation. Post-dormancy transformation. A host becomes operative and is capable of activating in proximity to a mutant. 6. Union. Post-activation. The human host becomes aware of the combined consciousness of it and the sentinel directives it has been infected with. This is almost always a prolonged process that mirrors those recovering from trauma. 7. Adaptation. Total integration of host and machine. 8. Omega. Total machine state. Krakoan. Upon arriving for the first time to the mutant nation state of Krakoa, a resident telepath will imprint the Krakoan language into the mind of the newly arrived mutant. Once this is done, that mutant is capable of reading, speaking, and fully understanding the Krakoan language. Krakoan was created by Douglas Ramsey to be the mutantdom's first autochthonous language. It's important to note that Krakoan is a manufactured language that is not a native language of Krakoa, the living mutant island. The language of Krakoa is untranslatable, and almost all human mutant brains are incapable of comprehending it. The only known exception is the mutant cipher. The Orcus Forge.
You still think this is a mistake?
Self-preservation is completely rational, Dr. Gregor. It's the panic it produces where errors get introduced.
You think we're panicking?
I think you built a mother mold that breeds master molds. The second you lose control, it's hard not to see this entire planetary system covered in cold, emotionless gray, with not a single pink, fleshy bit in sight. After all, they know where mutants come from.
It's a fair point, which is why the Forge was built with these control collars. If things go south, Omega, so does she. Right into the heart of the sun.
And how long before she wakes?
Well, we could wake her up now if we wanted, but even at the exponential rate she's learning, she still has a while before we're comfortable that she's evolved past the Heller-Faust line.
Good. Who needs an AI that's a potential sociopath? Are you?
Little problem up here.
What is it, dear?
We've got incoming. It looks like it came from the dark side of Venus, then used the planet to slingshot toward us. We didn't even pick it up until it was 25 million miles out.
Friendly?
No, absolutely not. It's a modified Shi'ar class scout. Only one possibility who that is. The X-Men.
How could they possibly know what we're doing?
Somebody talked. Somebody was listening. Maybe someone was watching the whole time. Who knows? But if they're coming, then it's pretty obvious what they're after. The mother mold.
Can we stop them from getting here?
Not in that bird. Long range, their countermeasures will be too good. And even though we'll unload our batteries on them when they close the distance, nothing we have is going to be able to punch through its shields. We screwed up. We were expecting to be fully online before we got their attention. So now, we're going to have to repel them once they boarded.
Okay, we're on the way.
No. Stay there. Protect the mother.
Why don't you just recall the drones from Mercury to defend the station?
That's the first thing I did. Unfortunately, it's not going to matter. Even though we're in a fixed position between the Sun and Mercury, it's at the apex of its elliptical orbit. They're coming, but they're going to arrive too late. Hey, cheer up, my love. It's just a little fight for the survival of our species. Nothing to worry about.
We're almost there. Send him in.
Hey, Kurt, recon.
The schematics say we should be able to access the mother mold's ejection collars at these 4 locations. We need to know if the plans are correct, because right now we're planning to jump in there and pop the releases. We'll fight if we need to, but it'd be a lot easier if we knew the plans were right. Understand?
Understood. And don't be so itchy, Fräulein. I'll be right back. Karima, what a surprise.
Hello, Kurt.
Picking sides, are we?
Actually, that was all of you, wasn't it? They're going to go for the control collars.
Erasmus, are you there? We've been breached. They have a teleporter.
His name is Nightcrawler.
Yeah, okay. I've read his file. His powers are point-to-point and low yield, so they're still going to have to dock to insert any kind of sizable assault force. I've moved most of our forces to the hangars. We'll meet them there and, hopefully, buy enough time for the drones to get here.
Okay, be careful.
That's disappointing.
What?
It's a very linear plan.
And what's the...
For a very non-linear foe. See?
What the...
They have an Omega Sentinel in there with them.
We'll deal with that when we have to. First things first.
Extending the breaching collar.
Damn. Damn. Bad news, dear.
What is it?
They're, cutting through the hull of the station, making some kind of entrance, which is yet another failure in today's total failure of expectations. It's a good idea. Even smarter than that, they're hitting the right section to access the whole station. I'm pretty sure they have plans for the station, and they've planned this operation to perfection. So our only hope is to respond asymmetrically. Irrationally, even.
What are you talking about, Erasmus? What are you doing?
Oh, whatever it takes to build a better world. You know, I joked about it a lot. But do I really wish we'd had kids?
No!
Be strong, love. Don't let them win.
For the righteous can never truly die. They live on, transformed into something immortal by their mighty works. For you to die, you would have to be forgotten, and no one forgets the founder of a nation.